Hey, this is Garrett Fry. I am a map painter and a concept artist in the film industry, and I wanted to do this quick tutorial about how to set up multiple projections in Maya, or a layered projection shader in Maya. And if you go to my website, www.gfryart.com, you can download this file so that you can follow along if you want to. I can preface this tutorial by saying I don't know of any visual effects company that is using Maya's native projection setup system. Usually they have some kind of plug-in or in-house tool that they've developed in order to set up projections more easily. But I have used this on occasion, and it's kind of gotten me out of some scrapes, and so it's definitely good to know, especially if Maya is the only projection software that you're using. So this is the final result, and as you can see how I feel about projections in Maya. This is projection 1 on this left side, this is projection 2 on the right side, and they're both being projected onto this surface. And so that's this camera projecting onto this side, and this camera projecting onto that side. And so let me just show you these images. This is the image that I started out with. This was UV mapped onto that card and onto this card, and I rendered something from this camera, and I rendered something from this camera of that texture. And these are what I got. So, and then I'll be projecting these back onto the card. So you can see here, ProjCam 1, how this text kind of warps up and down. It's because the geometry is curved, and so you're getting some curvature of the card from that view. So that is the projection 1. This is the alpha of that projection. And also this is the projection number 2, and I created a little line there with some pink just so it was obvious if you had the thing set up wrong. And then that's the alpha that I set up for that. So in order to start this, you need a surface shader. You start out here with the surface shader, and you also need a layered texture. So in the out color here, you want to make this connection, so you middle mouse drag that into the out color, and it makes a connection. Now if we go over to the layered texture, you can see that it has several attributes: color, alpha, and blend mode. If you click in this window, it will add as many layered textures as you want. So let's but just starting with the 1, we will go into the color. So if you click on that, and there's a little menu at the top here, it's normal, as projection, and stencil. What you want is as projection. If you're in a newer version of Maya, then you would right click on file, and then it would give you the option to say as projection. But this is an older version, so you'll have to excuse the older version. But it's the same process and setup. That's the only thing that's different. So if you go ahead and click that, map this guy, you get to see that it's set up a shading network for us. This is the projection node, this is the 2D or the 3D and the 2D placement nodes, and this is the file. So if you go ahead and click on the file, excuse me, so you click on this guy, go up to the image name, and let's just feed this guy in. So now we have the 1 projection. So let's go, now we'll want to set up the alpha. If you click here on the alpha, as projection, so you're setting up the image to be projected, and you're also setting up the alpha to be projected, and in the layered texture node, the alpha is cutting out the image. So so if you go into the alpha, read that guy in. So that is the 1 layer set up. So if we go to another layer, these things get created like crazy. Okay, so this one layer, if we go into the color and set up it as a projection, we'll set up our other layer. So that's the other layer. Now we'll set up the alpha for this guy as a projection. Let's map this so it stays clean. And that's the new one, and that is the alpha. Alright, so now we have a layered texture with each having a projection and its alpha being cut out in the layered texture. So if we were to set off a render, we would see this, which is not correct. If we apply this, it'll give you a kind of a crazy preview, and it will still not be correct. And the reason is because these projection nodes have not been set up to project through a camera. So if you go to this projection node, you can see that the proj type is by default set to planar. So if you go down to perspective, and then at this point you need to select a camera. So if you select your proper camera in there, let's do that for this guy too. So now if you were to map this, you would see now that this projection camera is being attached to these projection nodes. So let's do the same thing with this guy down here. Perspective, link to the left camera, perspective, and linked to the left camera, I believe. Let's map that. So it looks like everything's been corrected or connected properly. Let's just do a render, and you see, so yes, we are getting something. The image is being projected onto it. But as you can see here, you've got this ProjCam 1, and then it's ProjCam 1 over there, ProjCam 1. So what's happening is that your projection is set to wrap. So it's being tiled across the texture. You don't want your projection to tile onto your surface, or you're going to get this. So what we need to do to fix that is you go into your 2D placement nodes and you turn off the U and V unwrap on all of these guys. And you can probably see, you can see something happening there on the screen. Okay, now if we were to render, we would see that it is not UV wrapping anymore. It is it's laying on top of each other, but you're getting like this little ghosting thing, which is a little bit weird. So in order to fix this, you go into each of your image nodes, and there's this under color balance, there's this default color. So turn that down to black. And on each of your things, turn them down to black. Turn that guy down. Turn that guy down. So now we can render this, and ta-da, we've got our thing set up. But you can see here we've got this little P of ProjCam is being covered up. So we've got our two projections mixed up. So if we middle mouse drag that, move it over, and then render, you see that this guy here is now on top, where before he was on the bottom. But now it's not cutting out, it's not showing through the other projection. And the reason that is because this blending mode is set to none. You need to set that to over. So after you've set that to over, you render that, and ta-da! So there we go. The P ProjCam is back, so you can see that this is correct. So the one last thing that you would want to just make sure is that typically when you're doing a projection, you want the alpha to match the projection image. So right now, obviously, that's not the case. The alpha matches the geometry and not the projection. So if I flip between these two, you can see that the alpha doesn't match this. In order to set that up, you want to create another layered shader, and you want to feed in the two alphas. So in here, this is my alpha image. If I just middle mouse drag that in, and this is my other alpha image. If I middle mouse drag that in, get rid of that guy, and set this to add. But I'll show you what it looks like when you don't set it to add. So if you drag it into here and you just render that, now you look at the alpha. Oh, one last thing. After you set up the layered shader, you go into the matte opacity and you middle mouse drag that into there. So now this is basically what's happening is it says I want to cut out the image, and I want to do it from these alphas that I've created. So now if we look at this, we see that is the image and that is the projection. It's only giving you one side. So if you set this to an add, it's going to be adding both your alphas together, and this is the final result. So now you have a projection, it's working, and you have the alpha that is matching the projection. So that's how to set up a projection in about 15 different steps. One last thing that you want to just make sure is that your projections may be looking a little bit soft, and the reason that is, if you go down to effects right here, there is a filter on it, and if you get, that's in the file node here, right here in the projection node. If you go down to effects, there's also a filter. So what you want to do is you want to turn that off. Turn off the filter so it's not getting double filtered. So if you go down to each of these image nodes, you can turn off the filtering on the image nodes, so you're only getting a filtering happening at the projection. So if we were just to do a final, you may not see a big difference here, but this is the final projection, and that is the alpha. That is how you set up projections in Maya in quick 15-step process. Like I said, you can download this file and the working files from my website at gfryart.com, and thanks for watching.